Let's bring in Kerri Kupec Urbahn. So, Kerri, I guess the big question is, what is the charge? Like, what is it that the former president is being charged? What's the crime that he committed?
Well, technically, according to the DA, he's being charged with falsifying business records. Except there's one problem. The statute of limitations has ran out on that. So in order to revive that case, he has somehow manufactured these very low-level misdemeanor charges into felonies by saying, well, he falsified those records and to conceal an underlying crime. The problem is, no one really understands what the underlying crime is because it's not in the indictment, and Bragg only talked about it afterwards in a press conference and said vaguely that he had violated state and federal election laws.
So let me get this straight. We're going into a trial, and his team doesn't even know how to argue this case because they don't know the details.
Right, and that's one of the most troubling aspects of this case, not just because it's Donald Trump, just because, you know, in America, we're supposed to have a free and fair justice system, and one of the critical components of that is to know what you're being charged with. The accused has the right to know what they're being accused of, right? That's a hallmark of the Sixth Amendment in the Constitution, something we're all guaranteed to have. And so the fact that Bragg only talked about it after the fact in a press conference, and to look at it, you say, okay, well, if he's concealing a crime and it involves state and federal election law, how could they do that unless somehow Bragg is converting the hush money payments into basically campaign contributions to himself. Like Donald Trump contributed to himself and then didn't report it as such. So Charlie's laughing because it's ridiculous.
So we're talking about a paperwork violation here in the worst case.
Yes.
If he's guilty of it. And he's looking at jail time. There's no victim.
Right.
Would be a victimless paperwork, but so what is the appeal process? I mean, as a non-lawyer looking at this, I just assume, okay, well, this whole thing really is rigged. How does it? What does the appeal process look like?
Well, if the jury returns a sentence where they convict him in some way of these crimes, then he would appeal that. But at this point, and I mean this very sincerely, I am convinced that the New York justice system is determined to crush Donald Trump. And they'll do whatever it takes, including abusing the law. We've already seen them do it once with the Letitia James case, so they're crushing him financially there. And now it appears they're attempting to remove him altogether from public life by bootstrapping these misdemeanors to felonies, which carry jail time. 4 years, by the way, up to 4 years per charge. So do the math, 34 times 4.
And the judge will sentence him, right? How long do you expect this trial to go? And do you think that the judge, if he's found guilty, will throw him in prison?
Altogether, about 6 to 8 weeks. We could see this wrap on Memorial Day. So you're looking potentially at that week before Memorial Day with the case, the closing arguments being presented to a jury, the jury returning a verdict. And then if, they convict him, the appeals process would play out at that point. One
of the key witnesses will be Michael Cohen. He's got some issues, but we know a lot of times witnesses are devastating. Like Sammy the Bull, for example, killed a bunch of people, but he was used as a government witness. Here's Michael Cohen's problem, and it's Michael Cohen.
I will be in D.C. and in New York, anywhere Mr. Trump deems necessary. I'll be there. I did not want to go to the White House. I was offered jobs. Not only is Donald Trump not a racist, he believes that all people are part of one race, the human race. I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat. The words the media should be using to describe Mr. Trump are generous, compassionate, principled, empathetic, kind, humble, honest, and genuine. He is capable of behaving kindly, but he is not kind. He is capable of committing acts of generosity, but he is not generous. He is capable of being loyal, but he is fundamentally disloyal.
So obviously Michael Cohen, then he goes to jail, he comes out and he writes a book, and now he wants to make sure that Donald Trump pays the price. So in the big picture, when you talk about election interference, they're trying to say that if voters in 2016 knew about Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, they never would have put Trump in the White House in 2016. They're going to try to prove that they have to go to prove that?
Well, to some extent, but again, it has to do with, concealing the crime. But again, what is the crime? You'd have to reconstruct a hush payment into some kind of campaign payment or a way to, promote yourself as a candidate to even do that. So I don't even understand as a threshold matter how they plan to do that. But, Michael Cohen has lied. Let's talk about this for a second. To the court, to Congress, and to the media. These are all known things. This is their star witness. The entire case hinges on this guy. And I think what's particularly unfair is if the judge in this case is concerned about the appearance of impartiality, which he should be. It's not just about getting the decision right. Judges need to care about the appearance of fairness. Then that gag order should not just be slapped against Trump if he thinks that even needs to happen, which is a whole separate issue, but also Michael Cohen, because here's why. When Michael Cohen goes on TV and does these media interviews, there's no penalty of perjury. So there are no consequences. He would know better than anyone what penalty of perjury is like, having been convicted of that before, right? But he can go on TV, he can go on MSNBC, he can do all of these shows with no consequence and can say whatever he wants, whether it's true or not.
Kerri, real quickly before we let you go, did the judge have the ability, because we've been talking about the legal case right here, is there a law being broken? Did he have the opportunity to throw this out based on standing?
Well, he could have thrown it out on a number of grounds. But one thing that, I'm concerned about and troubled by in this case is the judge could have taken a look at this indictment and said, hey, you got to take this back and you got to make this more particularized because it's unclear to me what he actually did. What's the underlying crime? How are we at a felony stage when the statute of limitations has run on, the misdemeanor part? So he could have easily sent that back to the lawyers and said, come back to me with something more specific so that the defendant in this case actually knows what's going on.
And the clock was not ticking during the pandemic. They put everything on hold or else the statute of limitations would have run out? Yeah,
it ran out during that time. And now, his predecessor didn't bring the case at the time. Now has said in subsequent interviews, well, it's because the pandemic and SDNY told me to stand down. But everyone now, after the fact, is explaining why they didn't actually do it at the time.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, Kerri.
You only need one. You only need one juror.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Thanks, Kerri.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.